Hello guys, Chris here and welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing the GeForce GTX 680 in 2023. This GPU released back in 2012, and if you want to feel old, that was 11 years ago. Yep. Going over its specs, it's from the Kepler architecture. It has 1536 CUDA cores, which was a 3x improvement over the GTX 580 from the Fermi architecture. It has 2GB or 4GB of GDDR5 memory. This one is a 2GB model, as I told you, and it runs on a 256-bit memory bus. It has a TDP of 195 watts, although I didn't really see it go over 150 watts too often while gaming, which is great, and it released for $499 US. Yep, that's the MSRP, and they were actually available at those prices. Now, the 680 over here was actually a really small GPU for an 80 series card, with its die size measuring only 294 millimeters squared. That's like mid-range territory, honestly. Compared to its predecessor, the GTX 580, that card's die measured 520 millimeters squared. Also, an interesting thing is that the 600 series didn't top out at the GTX 680. They actually had a GTX 690, and this right here, the 690, is just a double GPU with two GTX 680s in it. And also the 690 consumed 300 watts of power, which is a massive reduction compared to the GTX 590, which consumed 375 watts of power. Anyway, that's enough history or intro. Let's play some games on the GTX 680, shall we? And it is desktop time. You can see the GeForce GTX 680 showing up right here in MSI Afterburner, along with the latest Nvidia drivers available to it. These are not the latest ones anymore because, well, Kepler has stopped receiving driver updates. In Tech Power-Ups GPUs, you can see all of the GPU specs. Finally, on the left, we're pairing it with the Ryzen 7 5800X3D and 32GB of RAM just to avoid CPU or RAM bottlenecks. And if you're wondering, you should be able to achieve the same FPS if you pair this card with like an i3 10th gen or an i7 4770K overclocked, for example. And first up, we got Red Dead Redemption 2. We're playing at 720p using the ultra textures and the lowest settings everywhere else. This is not set to Vulkan, by the way. I had to go into the config files to change it to DX12, otherwise it wouldn't work, but it still shows Vulkan grayed out there. And I also needed to go into the config files to set it to the ultra texture quality, otherwise the game doesn't allow you to apply settings. Start counting our FPS, getting 60s. Well, sometimes it touches 60 FPS. Most of the time it stays around like 40, 50, you know, high 40s basically, which is extremely nice for a GPU this old in Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, and here we go. Finally in Strawberry Town. Things should drop a little bit more over here. Yep, lower 40s, higher 30s. Mid-30s? Wow! Also, I tried it at 1080p resolution. It was getting 30 to 40 frames per second outside of towns. And then when I got to Strawberry, it dropped into the mid-20s. So things can get a bit rough at 1080p. And I really recommend the 720p resolution to stay above 30 100% of the time. Let's just check it out in Saint Denis now. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's stuttering a little bit more than it did back in Strawberry and outside of town areas, but it's not bad. Yeah, it's still playable. If you lock the FPS to like 30, it's gonna stay at 30 without major spikes in that frame time graph, so it's gonna feel a little bit better as well. Okay, so that's a win for the GTX 680 right here, and let's move on to the next game in the list. Next is CSGO, Steam's most popular game, at 1080p using high textures and low settings. Okay, here we go. There it is. And look at those FPS, my friends. Isn't that absolutely magnificent? No, it's not. I just died with a deagle to my face. But it's gonna be fine, guys. We're gonna win this one for sure. Almost said lose, but... Well, we'll either win or lose this one, and it's gonna be fine, because the 680's performance is insane in CSGO. And that's to be expected because it is an old, very expensive card, flagship GPU almost. So no wonder it will run a game from the year it released in. absolutely fine. You could even do high settings if you wanted to. I'm just keeping things a little bit more competitive here. Yeah, it seems like with these esports titles, even more recent ones like Rainbow Six Siege or Valorant, this GPU doesn't have a problem with them. Think of it as like an RTX 4080 in 10 years. Will it be able to play esports games? Well, this is the answer. I think so, unless every esports title in the next 10 years is like ray traced or whatever. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I'm fine, I'm fine. You just spawn behind me, all you bastards. I'll go to hell. Whoa! Dude, I'm just getting killed from behind, left and right. Well, no, only from behind, not left and right. Okay, anyway. Gotta go with the bison, guys. Gotta go with the bison. Get those points. AFK points. Everybody points. Oh, boy. I really don't think we're gonna win this one, honestly. Oh, my gosh. That was really close. Where's the other one? I know there's one somewhere. I don't care. I'm just gonna go now. Oh, there's another one. They're everywhere. Okay. Okay. We got that one. Nice, 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 nice. Almost second place. 5 more chickens would have done it, guys. Next up is another esports title that runs extremely well. It's Dota 2, and we're playing it at 1080p using the best looking graphics preset. All right, this is it. And yeah, it's a high refresh rate experience. Of course, we gotta wait for a team fight to happen to see how much it will drop. But so far, 140 FPS on average. That's really damn good, right? I'm not like a really good player or anything. I have like 1,000 hours on it. Actually, 969. Nice. But as long as the mouse and key inputs are responsive, I am fine with the experience, even with like 40 FPS in this game, honestly. Oh, Storm Spirit is gonna die. Okay, now we're seeing some decent effects, and it's dropping into the 70s. Okay. Alright, that was pretty nice, actually. And it didn't drop from 60, so really strong performance coming from the 680 in Dota 2, for sure. Okay, people, let's go. Nice, more effects. Alright, here we go. 70s, 60s. Okay, getting slightly more intensive. It touched 60 FPS there for a second, by the way. But it didn't drop from it. So this is really consistent, actually. Oh, I am surprised, guys. Cyberpunk 2077 actually launched on a Kepler GPU. We're playing at 720p using the lowest settings possible here. And over on the gameplay tab, we're also using the low crowd density. And I'm still not 100% sure that it won't crash when I press space to continue. Oh, no, it works. It actually works. I cannot believe this. This is amazing. Wow, and it's getting decent FPS at the same time. Oh my gosh, guys, I am so happy to see this. Because when the game came out, it could run on Kepler GPUs. I played it on the Titan, I played it on the GTX 780 Ti, but then they updated the game like a year ago or so, and they stopped supporting Kepler. So these GPUs that could play the game couldn't anymore because they would crash instantly when you got into it. But not anymore. They actually reversed something here, or maybe they optimized it again for these old Kepler cards, and it works! These are playable frame rates, it's not really stuttery or anything. The input lag is a bit bad, honestly. And that's why I'm driving so badly. But I mean, it's getting 30 plus FPS pretty much at all times. And now the last thing to do is kill Bob. Goodbye, Bob! There we go! Beautiful stuff. I don't think he's dead, though. Yep, he's still alive. Goodbye, Bob! Your chair won't save you there. Okay, there we go. Oh! There is a bit of an issue, though. Even though these cards can handle it. Again, well, some textures aren't really loading properly. Have they loaded already, though? Yes, they have. Okay, so it just takes a little bit longer to load, just like a PS4, I guess. The Last of Us Part 1 is next, and to no one's surprise, I think it just does not work because the GPU is incompatible with this game. Unfortunately, we'll see a lot of these issues throughout this video and these kinds of errors with drivers and DirectX 3D levels and stuff like that. But that's the experience in 2023 with such an old GPU. Let's move on to the next one. Next is Dying Light 2, another recent title and another outdated video driver error. Right, we're playing this one at 720p using FSR on balanced, okay, FOV set to the maximum and the lowest settings possible right here. Okay, that's actually way better than I was expecting. Honestly, I expected a dead light, basically. Does that mean that we can play at native 720p resolution? Okay, no upscaling now, it's native 720p and it is actually working pretty well. Look at this. 40s at native 720p with a graphics card that's 11 years old. My god, that's a big boy. This one is definitely not 11 years old. Down here is where it usually drops the most, actually. Looking at the entire city from above is not intensive in this game, interestingly. That frame time is so damn smooth, even with a 2GB card. Obviously, you will also need 16GB of memory to run this, but that's not too unrealistic with the GTX 680, honestly. But yeah, those 12GB of RAM usage indicates that it's not spilling too much information that should be on VRAM into the RAM. Thank you, developers, for caring about people with old systems and old GPUs. Guess what doesn't work? Battlefield 2042, because, well, you need a 900 series GPU or newer to play this game. I think it already crashed. Yep, there we go. But you know what does work? Battlefield 5. Here we go. It's Battlefield 5 at 1080p using the low settings here. And, well, the game still manages to look quite decent on low settings, unlike recent titles for some reason. And as you can see, it runs really well on the GTX 680, providing around 80 frames per second. That's quite fitting, right? Maybe 60 to 80 frames per second is going to be what we get here. Let's see. Okay, we're pushing with our boys right here. Let's go. Oh boy, what is happening? So many explosions. I don't like it. There's one right there. Come on, nice, got him. Yeah. Is there a medic over here? Please, come over here, dude. Let's go. Let's try to push these guys. Come on. Oh boy, so many explosions. It's all good though. I can't see anything, but okay. 50s. By the way, it's dropping a lot from 60 now with all of these explosions around us, all of these smoke effects. Oh my gosh. Nice. Oop. Nice. Come on. Let's go. Let's get these guys. Nice. Let's go. There's another one. Okay, we did it. No, there's one more. Damn it. Okay, our boy got him. And I think it's a medic, so he should be able to res us. Thank you so much, dude. Now, even though this is dropping from 60 frames per second quite often, actually, we got 69 on average at the end of it, which is perfect. And since we're in the topic of Battlefield-like titles, I got Battlebit Remastered next. We're playing at 1080p using the ultra settings with 100% screen scale, and that's about it. Let's go. As you can see, it runs really well. This is actually the recommended GPU requirement for this game. Well, kind of. They actually recommend a GTX 600 series GPU, and this is the best GTX 600 series, aside from the 690, which doesn't really work because of SLI, you know, and the Titan, which maybe is not really a 600 series GPU. Oh, whoa. Where are the enemies? Guys, what are you looking at? Like, I would like to know. Oh, we're on the D. Okay, we're capturing the objective, kind of. They did capture the objective. Guess there are a ton of them right here. Okay. Hi. Hello there. Can I throw like a grenade or something? Oh no, he's dead. Nice. Seeing trees again, dropping our FPS a little bit, but not a problem. It's always gonna stay well above 60 FPS. That's great. There's a guy? Yeah. Nice. Another one down. There's a sniper rifle boy here. Where is he? I think he's dead. Good job, people. Oh, hi. What the hell? Okay, hello again. Next is the still very popular GTA 5 in DirectX 11 1080p resolution using the high settings right here and normal post effects because that introduces motion blur. Advanced graphics are all turned off and look at those sweet FPS, guys. Oh yeah, so by the way, I gotta set it to 16:9, otherwise Michael is too thin. All right, much fatter, I mean much better. Yes, let's go. Look at that power utilization, by the way. It's much higher than newer titles because this game was actually made with this GPU architecture in mind. Kepler released in 2012, then it had 2013 700 series, and GTA 5 released in 2013 on consoles and 2015 on PC, but it was definitely being developed with Kepler in mind. So these GPUs from the 600 and 700 series do very well in GTA 5 usually. Games from this era will run very well, obviously, because this was a high-end GPU back in the day. Now, where it will struggle the most is in bushy areas, and it's still not dropping a lot, as you can see, into the high 70s, low 80s. No, 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 no. Come on, come on. Hello, Jacqueline? Ah, there she is. Hello, how's it going? Tell Jack that I love him. Down in these bushes. Low 70s, high 60s is what we get, but it's still 60 plus 100% of the time on high settings. This is how I'd play this game with a 680 for sure. Oh, this is rough. Who are you? Hello? Lady? What is happening? What is that dress? Very beautiful dress you got there. Are you gonna eat me or something? I don't know. This is Sons of the Forest, my friends, and we are playing it at 720p using the lowest settings possible, okay? And, well, it's getting roughly 30 FPS. Why are you screaming? Why are you screaming? We're getting 30-ish. Most of the time, it's gonna stutter a little bit. I actually thought it would drop a lot inside of the forest. So there's that. There are the stutters that I was telling you about. It drops into the low 20s at times. Hello, Kelvin. Where were you when I needed you? You would be very friendly to that lady over there. I know it because you're always very great, you know. Seems like Sons of the Forest is actually pretty playable, aside from that horrible stuttering. But that happens even with higher-end systems. I remember having a lot of stuttering with the RTX 4080 as well. I actually thought it was going to perform a bit worse. Since this game doesn't really like old GPU architectures, but apparently Kepler is okay. Now it's Diablo IV, a really recent title that still works just fine, as you can see on something like a GTX 680. Let's go over the settings. I am playing at 1080p using low settings with high textures to make the game look a little bit prettier, because low textures look really bad here. Fortunately, it still runs very smoothly even with 2 gigabytes and high textures, so there's that. We are running out of VRAM, but it's okay. No stuttering, dudes. Like, usually this stutters quite a bit the first time that I do this, but it's really smooth. What the hell, bro? I was expecting such a worse experience here for some reason. And it still manages to look decent again because of those high textures. That's nice, guys. We're gonna see some explosions now with these boys. Okay. Okay, it's dropping a little bit more now into the 40s, but not a problem. Wow, and this is without FSR as well, you know? I mean, we can't even use FSR, honestly, because it's FSR2 and it doesn't work. I'm really glad that the developers took the time to optimize for these really old GPUs at this point. Like, it's a 2023 game that runs very well on 2012 cards. That's great. I love it. I really wanted to show you some Forza Horizon 5 gameplay on the 680, guys, because it would have worked if the game let us play it. The problem is you just cannot play it anymore, I think. Yeah. It doesn't even get to the loading screen. See this? This happens on Kepler GPUs ever since they updated the game to support DLSS. I don't really know why they needed to break it for Kepler, honestly, because Kepler GPUs could actually run the game really well. I tested the GTX Titan. It ran it even at 4K low settings or medium settings at 30 FPS, if I'm not mistaken. Imagine you're one of those persons with like a GTX Titan or 780 Ti, for example, and you're playing Forza Horizon 5 just fine, and then the next day it gets an update and you can't play it anymore. That's not fair. Next is Far Cry 6, and this is what we get. The Far Cry 6 crashed. Let's go to Far Cry 5, I guess. And thankfully, I got good news. Far Cry 5 actually runs pretty well at 1080p using the low settings, and it's getting around 50 FPS in this area, 40s right here. Not bad, you know, it's definitely playable. Once again, there is not much input lag in this game compared to other games like CSGO, for example, at 40 frames per second. I would consider that unplayable. But this one, given that it is a single-player game, it is definitely very playable, and it can be super enjoyable like this. It also looks really good, even on the low settings, and the low textures look decent as well. Like, look at this. This is another game from 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and it runs extremely well, and it looks pretty good on low settings, unlike the new titles that we have these days. Now we're running the benchmark of the game. I'm gonna start recording the FPS. This will give us a little bit more variety, you know, than me just walking around a little forest area, right? Now we're seeing some houses, we saw some smoke effects, a little bit of a dogfight right there, explosions. Nothing is actually hitting our FPS either, so that's really good. It's getting around the 40 to 50 FPS mark all of the time. And you know what? There are tons of good games out there that are older, and I guess games from 2018 and older will run pretty well on the GTX 680, so it's not too bad of a card. It doesn't really consume that much either, at around 150 watts. If you just want to play old games, this is still fine. Next is Spider-Man Remastered. We're playing this one at 720p using TAA and the very low settings. And yes, it also gives us a warning here, but you can just ignore it and move on. And here we are. Now, what you can't really ignore is the stuttering that happens because we are running out of VRAM, even at 720p very low settings. So that frame time is definitely far from ideal and far from smooth. I don't like it. It is playable, I guess. You could lock the FPS to 30, for example, and achieve a 30 FPS experience all of the time, unless it drops. So I'm gonna continue here, not gonna jump into conclusions just yet. Alright, usually this part is really GPU bound, and it drops a couple of frames more than the city, 31. Alright, that's not completely awful, actually. 32 there. Yeah, I actually thought it was gonna drop into the 20s here. Not gonna lie, guys. There is an area where it might still drop, though, but surprisingly, rendering trees is not a problem for the little GTX 680. Actually, it is dropping. Oh my god. It is dropping quite a bit here, looking at the Central Park area from above, you know. If you have a 680, it's time to upgrade if you really want to play some Spider-Man Remastered. And you know what else you can't ignore? These texture issues that happen with Kepler GPUs, and even the 750 Ti had these issues right here. Yeah, quite funny, isn't it? And on top of all of those textures, sometimes they don't even load and you can drop from the map. It happened in my GTX 750 Ti Spider-Man Remastered video. Oh, in this one, I think it won't crash our game to apply FSR, but as you can see, FSR 2.1 doesn't do anything. It just gives you a black screen with some things. Oh boy, and it drops your FPS as well. That's very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna set it right here. IGTI on quality, not even gonna do ultra quality. Quality, please. Thank you. What the hell? This might actually be the perfect settings for the 680. Look at those FPS. Okay, so hopefully, because we are running upscaling right now and it's rendering everything at a lower resolution. What the hell are these? Oh my god, dude. Anyway, VRAM usage is indeed slightly lower than it was at 720p native because of the lower internal resolution. Now, it's not even dropping from 30 FPS in this scenario here, which is pretty intensive, guys. Okay, it drops if you turn your camera around really fast, but if you don't do it, it's gonna be fine. But now the problem is everything is super pixelated and it just doesn't look very good. I guess it's kind of surprising that GPU this old can play the game and still achieve decent FPS, but it's definitely not ideal. Now we're playing Crisp's Dying Simulator, aka PUBG, at 1080p using very low settings and 100% resolution scale. It seems like it's gonna run really well. Look at those frames here. Wow. Oh my goodness, look at those beautiful textures. I sometimes forget how bad this game can look at very low settings. But you know what? The game overall still manages to look decent, especially at a distance. It's just when you come across these textures right here, it's a bit distracting. But if you want to be a little bit competitive at it, this is probably the way to go. It's getting 100 frames per second on average so far. Extremely smooth experience. No stuttering as well. No, I knew it. I knew this would happen. God damn you. No. Whoa. Okay, I have no idea where the guy is. He just shot at us. I'm just gonna leave now, okay? All right, there we go. He's not gonna get us right now. Okay, so where should we go from here? I'd like to see a little bit of a forest area, and I'd also love to throw a smoke out. God damn it. Okay, all right, it's all good. Because inside of smokes, this game is where it usually drops the most. Gosh, oh boy, what am I doing here? All right, and speaking of smokes, I just threw one out, right? Starting to drop. No, not really. Not a problem. Have they fixed smokes in PUBG? Oh, no. Okay, there we go. Standing right here and zooming into it, it can drop from 60 FPS slightly at times. Alright, you can play PUBG absolutely fine on a GTX 680. Now it's Stutter Night at 1080p using DirectX 11 and the low settings, TAA and 3D resolution set to 100%. And it seems like it's not gonna drop from 60 FPS, although things are taking a really long time to load for some reason. This is pretty weird. I've never seen that happen. By the way, as you have noticed by now, I am not using the performance mode because it's not really needed. Gosh, that was a terrible stutter. But yeah, it already gets pretty decent FPS using the DirectX 11 API, although stability-wise, it's another story. But hey, it's Stutter Night. Stutters are in the name. It's a feature, and everybody loves stuttering in this game. Otherwise, they would have fixed it already, right? There's a little motorcycle right here. Come on, can I grab the bike? Okay, there we go. There we go. As I was saying, I'm not testing performance mode because that's so easy to run on the GPU side of things, especially, that you usually end up being CPU bound, and well, it wouldn't happen here with the 5800X3D, obviously, but most people would probably end up getting way less FPS than what's shown in this video, so I'm not gonna do performance mode. Okay, anyway, I think I'm gonna stop it there for Stutter Night. I don't really enjoy this. It's super playable though. Now it's Call of Duty Warzone 2, and to no one's surprise, I think, well, we got a driver version issue here, but we can still launch the game, kind of, and I guess we will set optimal settings. Let's go. I thought it would actually work, because previously we could launch this game with a Kepler GPU. It would just crash whenever you got into a match, but now it can't even launch it, apparently. I don't think it's gonna work, guys. I'm gonna try again. This time I'm gonna try safe mode, which sets everything to the lowest and lowest resolution as well. And, well, this is all there is to Call of Duty Warzone 2, I guess. Next is Hogwarts Legacy, and we got one of those driver warning messages, but thankfully we can actually launch it, so let's try it out. Okay, 40 FPS right here is not too bad. We're at 1080p resolution using low TAA, and everything is off right here. On the advanced options, we're using the recommended settings, which is the lowest settings preset. And, oh boy, okay, well, that is pretty underwhelming. Seeing 40 FPS in the menu made me hopeful for some reason, but yeah, it gets less than 30 frames. However, these aren't really too stuttery. That frame time is a bit bad, but, you know, it's normal for Hogwarts Legacy. Unfortunately, with 20-something FPS, it's just not playable at all, is it, guys? I'm gonna try, like, FSR 2. Oh no, wait, FSR 2 doesn't work on Kepler. It instantly shuts down, and now I don't know how to recover it, honestly. And guys, I spent about half an hour trying to mess around with config files and stuff like that. I could not disable FSR 2 for the life of me, so I just gave up on that, installed a GTX 750 Ti, installed the 750 Ti drivers, got into the game, changed FSR 2 to FSR 1, okay, unbalanced, and now installed the 680 again, 680 drivers and so on, and we're back here. Okay, 1080p FSR 1.0 unbalanced, which means that we're playing at 638p internally and using the lowest settings. Oh god. It is still dropping sometimes from 30 frames per second. Well, I guess we need to play at 720p instead. God damn it, I gotta restart again. Okay, finally, 720p, FSR 1 on ultra quality now, which means 555p internal resolution and low settings. And can we have 30? Oh yes, it is smooth now, finally. Ah, I can play Hogwarts Legacy on a GTX 680. It looks really soft though, so you really need like a small monitor to appreciate the graphics on the lowest. But it works. Anyway, Hogsmeade over here is one of the most CPU-intensive areas, so it's not really that intensive for the GPU to render, and down there, near all of that vegetation, is where it becomes super GPU-bound. Near the river, getting 40s still, lower 40s right now, 30s, oh boy, starting to stutter a little bit more as well, but still playable in my opinion. And down here is where it's gonna drop the most, 38. Okay, you know, it's 30 plus all of the time in another 2023 title, so that's not bad. So, this is the Elden Ring experience. If you really like bright screens and you have like an HDR monitor, for example, this is gonna be perfect for you because you're gonna be blind, basically. Anyway, it's just gonna end up crashing, as you can see, no error message or anything, but Elden Ring just doesn't work on Kepler GPUs. Now we're visiting the real Roach in The Witcher 3. Look at that boy, beautiful. Well, it's actually a girl in this one. Anyway, so we're playing at 1080p res using the low settings with SSAO ambient occlusion. Well, by SSAO ambient occlusion, I actually said screen space ambient occlusion. Doesn't matter though, let's continue here. It seems like it is performing pretty well, especially for a remastered version of the game. It used to play a little bit better when it came out, and it used a lot less VRAM as well. This is low settings and it's using 1.6 gigabytes. I think it used like 2-ish gigabytes at the high or ultra settings back when the game came out. But yeah, anyway, the 680 can still provide pretty decent results here in this one. Even with the updated version. Come on, Roach, let's go. Oh, and we're also using DirectX 11 instead of DirectX 12 here because, well, it works better with these older Kepler GPUs. As you can see, even in Novigrad, inside of the castle, it's not really dropping too much. It's in the 50s. VRAM usage around here went up slightly, 1.8 gigabytes right now, but it's still very much under control. Now, this one is interesting because it ran on the HD 7970, which was the GTX 680's competitor back in the days, but it doesn't run on the 680. It instantly crashes every single time. By the way, this is what demos are for. Thankfully, I didn't need to buy this game to have this experience. Neither will you. Look at how beautiful this is. This is Rust, my friends, one of my favorite titles on PC, and we are playing it at 1080p using like low to medium settings, I would say. Probably medium, actually. Alright, it looks great like this. Textures could look a little bit better, but again, we got 2 gigs of VRAM. You can also see that the RAM utilization is completely insane at almost 20 gigs. That's because the VRAM is spilling into the RAM, or the information that should have been on VRAM is spilling into RAM. Nevertheless, if you have the 4GB variant of this card, or if you have enough RAM to handle this game properly, it can look and play fantastic. Alright, we're gonna try to go to Bandit Camp right there, which is the most intensive area in Rust. Well, that bandit camp idea was very short-lived. I think we bugged Roach right here. Get out of here. Oh. Okay, everything is okay. Vegetation is also really intensive in this game, dropping into the lower 40s over here in a dense forest area, high 30s as well. Finally, we're here, guys. This is Bandit Camp. It's not really dropping that much in FPS. A lot of people tell me, whenever I don't test Bandit Camp, that this is so much more intensive than, like, forest areas that I test. It's not. It's actually less intensive than the forest area we've been to. And lastly, before we go to the conclusion, we got Valorant over here, and we are playing in a different system. I'm using an i7 4770K this time around, and 16 gigabytes of RAM, 2400 MHz DDR3. We're playing at 1080p using high settings with 4 times MSAA, and we're still CPU bound mostly. But I couldn't really test this with my 5800X 3D system because that's Windows 11. And well, Valorant requires CPU boot and TPM and stuff like that to work in Windows 11. And I had all of that stuff enabled, but it kept telling me that it wasn't enabled. So I tried disabling, re-enabling things, nothing worked. It's just so freaking annoying. Anyway, you can see that the 680 has no problems whatsoever in this. If we didn't have a CPU bottleneck with that 5800X 3D, we could possibly see like 300 frames per second using these settings and this GPU. But again, I can't really do that. And we finally arrived at the conclusion of this video. I'll still have Rainbow Six Siege running the benchmark run over here at 1080p low settings with 100% resolution scale. It ran pretty well, and it shows you once again that the little GTX 680, well, very big GTX 680, is still pretty capable of playing esports titles and older games extremely well. I really enjoyed making this video and playing a lot of titles with the GTX 680. I think I enjoy these more than playing with like the RTX 40 series of the world. Now, that's not to say that you should go out and buy a GTX 680, because for most people who are looking to play esports games, the 750 Ti probably makes a lot more sense. First of all, look at that size comparison. Second, this consumes 35 watts and this consumes 5 times that. Third, the 750 Ti still supports the latest drivers and this doesn't. You know, it's a much more reasonable card for somebody looking to play esports games. Or older AAA titles. And this is what I usually recommend for most of you in that situation. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.